1991, Freddie was still trying hard to maintain that public image, as, in private, Peter watched him struggle to hide the signs of a devastating disease.
I remember when he told me in 1987, he told me he had AIDS, and then he said, "This is it, we will not be discussing this again." He wanted people to listen to the music of Freddie Mercury, not listen to the music of Freddie Mercury who's dying of AIDS. It was something for him. It was his problem. He didn't want other people to suffer because of what he had. This was one of the reasons that he actually kept it to himself. I mean, even his family didn't know the details until the last year of his life. The band found out, I'm thinking 1990. Looking back on the history, the disease didn't even really have a name before 84. It was just this new disease that had come out of America. And up until that point, when Freddie knew that he had AIDS, only one of his friends, close friends, had died from it.
Freddie Mercury was openly bisexual at a time when HIV was starting to spread through London's gay community. Not much was known about the disease in those days. Treatment was given late and was often ineffective. By the time Freddie's friends and family knew the truth, his immune system was already showing signs of collapse.
For the last year and a half, he had a central line inserted in his chest because he was having intravenous drugs 3 times a day. So rather than him go to hospital and that sort of thing, 2 of us, Joe Finelli and myself, were taught how to give these infusions. We were nurses. He never got depressed about it. I think for him, it was a fact. He had this disease. There was no point in wasting time trying to think how he got it, where he got it, because back in those days, there was no knowing how long he had. I remember in 1989, we were told by the doctors in October just to be prepared that Freddie probably would not see Christmas. But he managed another 2 years after that. Obviously, as time went on, particularly in the last year, he was sort of hindered. I mean, he was getting tired. He just did not have the energy he used to have. But saying that, he still managed to record 4 complete tracks for the band because he wanted to leave as much music for them to work with as he could before he stopped.
He was shy and private, wary of the press, and unwilling to share the intimate details of his life. But as he got weaker and more sick, the presence of normality became harder to maintain. Finally, just hours before he died, he made the decision to issue a public statement.
Following the enormous conjecture in the press over the last 2 weeks, I wish to confirm that I have been tested HIV positive and have AIDS. I felt it correct to keep this information private to date to protect the privacy of those around me. However, the time has come now for my friends and fans around the world to know the truth, and I hope that everyone will join with me, my doctors, and all those worldwide in the fight against this terrible disease.
He knew that when he died, it would become public knowledge. It was something that he had kept mostly to himself and to close friends. I mean, okay, so the whole world suspected, but very few people actually knew that he had AIDS. But he knew that when he died, it would become known. And the last thing he wanted was that Freddie Mercury died with a sort of dark, dirty secret. So the way he knew to be able to help others was for him to acknowledge that he had AIDS, that it was something that could affect anybody in the world. He actually made the statement 48 hours before he died. He did not know, nobody knew he was going to die on the Sunday, but he was compos mentis enough on the Friday to be talking with Jim Beach, the manager of Queen, for 4 or 5 hours to discuss the wording of those sort of 2 or 3 small paragraphs, because he wanted to get it exactly right.
That night, Peter sat with him for the last time.
For the last week of his life, there was someone with him constantly, 24 hours a day. There were 3 of us who were taking it in turns who would spend a night with him. And I remember it was on the Friday night. It was my turn. And all I did, he was in bed, and I just sat on the bed, and I just held his hand. He would go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up. And I just held his hand so that he knew that there was somebody sitting there beside him, that he was not sitting there alone.
The 1 o'clock news from the BBC with Philip Hayton.
Good afternoon. The music world has been paying tribute to Freddie Mercury, the lead singer with the rock group Queen. He died last night, just 24 hours after saying he had AIDS.
One of the last things that he said to me, and I still, it's one of the things that I will think of for the rest of my life. He just said, thank you. And as I say, I do not know whether he was saying thank you just for me being there that night, or for me, the 12 years that we'd had. I don't know. I will never know.
Freddie Mercury died in London on the 24th of November, 1991. A millionaire rock star and a household name. A long way in every sense from the modest